Hey up, Rayvers. The name's Ruttle, Ray Ruttle, and I'm here in the Schönbrunn Palace Theatre in Vienna, as frequented in the living daylights by arguably the most underrated Bond, Timothy Dalton. Do you reckon they do ice cream tubs, eh, love? No? I suppose James Bond wouldn't have an ice cream tub, would he? Yeah. Now, when Roger realised it was finally time to retire, I think it was when he realised that he were older than his Bond girl co-star's mum. Yeah. Anyway, yes, they turned to Dalton. Now, Dalton, he were a proper actor who'd done Shakespeare and stuff. And you can tell he's a proper actor because you can just listen to the way that he subtly modulates his voice for dramatic effect.
Let Rome in Tiber melt and the wider arch of the ranged empire fall.
Yes, very good. Now, I think it's fair to say that towards the end of Roger's career as Bond, it had turned into a little bit of a pastiche. But Dalton brought us a gritty and realistic Bond, more similar to that of the Ian Fleming novels, apparently. I wouldn't know, I've never read them. Yes, it was still it with the birds, ladies. And yes, it was still suave and sophisticated, as evidenced here, with him providing an evening of culture and showing the lady a great time by taking her up the Schönbrunn. Yeah, he's done that to get some brownie points in, ain't he? Look, Karen, she's absolutely loving it.
Excuse me for a few moments.
She's probably have to try and get herself an ice cream tub. Or maybe do a poo. But the big difference was that Bond were now back to being tough and uncompromising. Yeah, take that. Now, some folk have said that Dalton were ahead of his time. And as the old saying goes, being ahead of your time is as bad as being behind the time. Something like that, anyway. Something about time. Can't remember now. What time is it? What I was trying to get at was when Dalton came in, it was very different to Roger. Not dissimilar to how Daniel Craig was after Brosser. But I think it divided the audience a little bit. Now, some folk weren't ready for it. Some folk still yearned for Roger and his gadgets and his quips and that. I think to say there weren't light-hearted bits in it. For example, this bit where he's sliding down a ski slope on a sheller case. Just needs the ski Sunday music, that, doesn't it?
We've nothing to declare!
And he did some one-liners and all. Maybe didn't deliver them as well as Roger did.
What happened?
He got the boot.
But it ain't because Dalton can't do the comedy. Because I've seen him in Hot Fuzz, and they were bloody funny in that. I assume it were a conscious decision to make it more dark and gritty. But Licence to Kill weren't as popular as the other Bond films. I reckon it was because they made it to 15 and took it too far, because kids couldn't go and see it. And they got some bloody gruesome deaths in it. Gruesome! It was too much for the wife, Denise. She hated it. My lad Dean, he weren't old enough to go into pictures, so I couldn't take him. And he were livid. Now, maybe the producers were trying to emulate the likes of Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, which were out around the same time. And they proved pretty popular, but they had been a little bit violent. And they even got the same bloke in to do the music. I mean, sometimes it sounded like it was the same bloody music. And maybe it didn't feel as much like a Bond film compared to some of the other ones. And possibly one thing that added to that was that he fell out with his boss and handed his resignation in.
Then you have my resignation, sir.
We're not a country club, 007.
So for a lot of the film, he's just acting on his own, you know. I mean, back then, it was new and it was different. But nowadays, it seems like Craig, he gets on his boss's tits every bloody film.
Restrict Bond's movements. Cancel his cards.
As of this morning, you are officially grounded. I'm standing you down from all operations indefinitely.
Now, I really like Licence to Kill. When you watch it back now, I reckon it does withstand repeated viewings. And I like the fact they were a bit different. And I like Dalton's portrayal as Bond. But I can also appreciate the point of view of those folk who were disappointed with it, because they still longed for Roger with his gadgets and shagging. But it still had bits that were quintessentially Bond. I mean, check out this. 1 minute, he's tussling with these baddies underwater. And before you know it, boom, he's water skiing. Classic Bond. And here he is, parachuting into his best mate's wedding. I mean, that's pretty bloody Bond, isn't it? You got to admit that. Didn't all end happily ever after, though. Felix got his leg bitten off by a shark, and his wife got raped and murdered on the wedding night. On reflection, maybe it was a little bit too dark. On the road, Dalton. Definitely the most underrated Bond for me. I think he's bloody good. And I thoroughly enjoy watching his films when they come on telly. And if you ain't already watched them, check out my other reviews of the other Bonds. And I will see you next time. Now I'm off to go and get myself an ice cream tub. Okeydoo!